Ethiopia is a land unlike any other. High in the Horn of Africa, its mountains, valleys, and rivers have sheltered civilizations for thousands of years. The story of Ethiopia is one of kingdoms and empires, of faith and survival, and of resilience in the face of enormous challenges. While much of Africa was carved up by colonial powers in the 19th century, Ethiopia stood its ground and remained an independent nation, protecting its sovereignty when few others could. To understand Ethiopia today, you first have to look deep into its past, from the ancient Kingdom of Aksum to modern Addis Ababa. This is the history of Ethiopia explained, from ancient kingdoms to today. The roots of human history in Ethiopia go back further than any single kingdom. Ethiopia is part of what scientists call the cradle of humanity. Fossils like Lucy, a famous 3.2-million-year-old skeleton discovered in the Afar region, show that human ancestors walked these lands long before civilization began. These early traces remind us that Ethiopia has been central to the human story since the very beginning. Fast forward to the rise of organized states, and we find one of Africa's greatest ancient civilizations, the Kingdom of Aksum. Centered in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, Aksum emerged around the 1st century AD. It became a major trading empire, linking the Roman world, Arabia, and India through trade in ivory, gold, frankincense, and slaves. Aksum minted its own coins, a sign of its economic strength, and built monumental obelisks that still stand today, carved from solid stone and rising high above the land. The kingdom is often described as one of the 4 great civilizations of the ancient world, alongside Rome, Persia, and China. Aksum was also a crossroads of religion. In the 4th century, under King Azana, it became one of the first states in the world to adopt Christianity as the official religion, a faith that continues to define Ethiopia to this day. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church traces its roots directly back to this period, making it one of the world's oldest Christian traditions. At the same time, Aksum was connected to Judaism through the Beta Israel community and to Islam through its early role in sheltering followers of the Prophet Muhammad. This interwoven history of religion gave Ethiopia a spiritual depth that shaped its culture for centuries. But even great powers decline. By the 7th century, shifts in trade routes and the rise of Islamic powers across the Red Sea weakened Aksum. Its influence faded and power shifted to new dynasties deeper in the Ethiopian highlands. Over the following centuries, Ethiopia developed into a collection of kingdoms and principalities, united by Christian faith but often divided by geography and politics. The Zagwe dynasty, which ruled from the 12th to the 13th century, left behind one of Ethiopia's most iconic legacies, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. Carved directly into solid stone, these underground cathedrals remain a place of pilgrimage and a symbol of Ethiopian faith and architecture. In the late 13th century, power shifted again with the rise of the Solomonic dynasty, which claimed descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. According to tradition, their son Menelik I became Ethiopia's first emperor, linking the monarchy to a divine and ancient lineage. Whether legend or history, this story gave Ethiopian rulers extraordinary authority. The Solomonic dynasty would dominate Ethiopia for centuries, establishing an imperial system that lasted well into the 20th century. Throughout the medieval period, Ethiopia faced both internal rivalries and external threats. Muslim sultanates like Ifit and Adwa challenged the Christian empire from the east, leading to centuries of conflict. One of the most dramatic episodes came in the 16th century, when Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi, known as Ahmad Gragn, launched a devastating campaign against Ethiopia. Backed by Ottoman firearms, his forces overran much of the highlands. The Ethiopian state seemed on the brink of collapse until it received support from Portugal, which sent musketeers to fight alongside Ethiopian troops. Together, they defeated Ahmad Gragn, but the war left the country weakened and scarred. At the same time, new challenges came from the south, where Oromo migrations transformed the demographics of the highlands. The Oromo people settled across central and southern Ethiopia, gradually integrating into the empire while also reshaping its political and cultural landscape. Ethiopia's ability to survive these pressures is remarkable. By the 17th century, the empire rebuilt itself under emperors who moved the capital frequently, maintaining a mobile court that shifted across the highlands. But unity was fragile. By the 18th century, the country entered a period known as the Zemin Mesafint, or the era of the princes. During this time, real power was held not by the emperor, but by regional warlords who fought for dominance. Ethiopia became fragmented, and emperors were often little more than figureheads. The 19th century brought Ethiopia back to the center of world attention. Emperor Tawadros II, who ruled in the mid-1800s, tried to reunify the country and modernize its institutions. His reign was turbulent and ended tragically when he took his own life during a British military expedition. Yet his dream of a stronger Ethiopia lived on. Successive rulers like Johannes IV and Menelik II continued his mission, defending Ethiopia from external threats while centralizing power at home. One of the defining moments in Ethiopian history came in 1896 at the Battle of Adwa. Faced with an invasion by Italy, which sought to make Ethiopia a colony, Emperor Menelik II rallied the nation. Tens of thousands of Ethiopians, drawn from across the empire, confronted the Italian army. Against the odds, they achieved a stunning victory. Adwa became a symbol of African resistance and remains a source of immense pride for Ethiopians today. Unlike nearly every other African nation, Ethiopia preserved its independence during the scramble for Africa. Menelik also modernized Ethiopia, expanding the empire's borders, building roads, and introducing new technologies. His capital, Addis Ababa, became the political and cultural heart of the nation. In the 20th century, Ethiopia entered a new era under Emperor Haile Selassie. Crowned in 1930, Haile Selassie promoted modernization, international diplomacy, and a vision of Ethiopia as a proud, sovereign nation. He played a major role in the founding of the League of Nations and later the United Nations. But Ethiopia's independence was briefly interrupted in 1935 when Mussolini's Italy launched a brutal invasion. Despite heroic resistance, Ethiopia was occupied until 1941, when Allied forces and Ethiopian patriots restored Haile Selassie to power. After World War II, Ethiopia became a symbol of African independence and Pan-Africanism. Haile Selassie hosted the founding of the Organization of African Unity in Addis Ababa, cementing Ethiopia's role as a leader on the continent. At the same time, his rule grew increasingly strained. While he was celebrated abroad, at home his government faced criticism for failing to address poverty, inequality, and political repression. In 1974, a revolution brought an end to centuries of monarchy. Haile Selassie was overthrown by a group of military officers known as the Derg, who declared Ethiopia a socialist state. The Derg, led by Mengistu Haile Mariam, launched radical reforms, including land redistribution, but their rule became infamous for violence, repression, and famine. The period known as the Red Terror saw thousands killed in political purges. In the 1980s, famine devastated parts of the country, drawing global attention and humanitarian aid, but also highlighting the regime's failures. By the early 1990s, Ethiopia was in turmoil. Armed resistance movements, including the Tigray People's Liberation Front, toppled the Derg in 1991. A new federal system was established, granting significant autonomy to Ethiopia's ethnic regions. This system reshaped Ethiopia's politics, but also laid the groundwork for future tensions. The 1990s also saw Ethiopia lose Eritrea, which declared independence after decades of conflict. The separation left Ethiopia landlocked, reshaping its economy and trade. Despite these setbacks, Ethiopia began to rebuild, with new governments focusing on development, infrastructure, and growth. In the 2000s and 2010s, Ethiopia emerged as one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. Projects like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam symbolized its ambitions to harness resources for development. Addis Ababa became a hub for African diplomacy, home to the African Union headquarters. Yet challenges persisted. Political unrest, ethnic conflicts, and disputes over governance created instability. In recent years, Ethiopia has faced both hope and hardship. Reforms raised expectations for greater democracy and peace, but conflict in the Tigray region reminded the world that Ethiopia's journey is still complex. Despite these difficulties, Ethiopia remains a country with extraordinary resilience, rooted in its long history and diverse cultures. Today, Ethiopia is a nation of more than 100 million people, with dozens of ethnic groups, languages, and traditions. It is a land of contrasts, where ancient churches sit alongside modern skyscrapers, and centuries-old traditions coexist with rapid change. From the highlands of Lalibela to the bustling streets of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia continues to evolve, carrying its past into its future. The history of Ethiopia is not just about kings, battles, and empires. It is also about endurance, identity, and pride. From Aksum to Adwa, from Haile Selassie to today, Ethiopia has always found a way to survive and adapt. And as the country moves forward, its story remains one of the most remarkable on the African continent. Thanks for watching. Have you ever been to Ethiopia?